It's time for us to get into the community development segment. And one of the things that impacts on communities largely is food and food prices. Now, we have known for a while now that the pricing of food, despite what the Ministry of Agriculture has attempted to do a few years ago by bringing food straight from the farm to the ministry to try and sell at the ministry so that you can get it cheaper and all that. Well, it doesn't seem to have made too much of a difference in the sense that a lot of food items, the prices are going up. Now, today we're going to zero in and put the microscope on tomatoes, all right? And tomatoes, Jifa, is a very important part of the Ghanaian cuisine because starting from stews to soups to sauces, tomatoes is in every...
So even salads.
And salads. Tomatoes is in everything.
Meal, yeah.
Chibom kra, there's tomatoes inside. Everything has tomatoes, and tomatoes is a very health focused food, so it's a very important part of our diet and it's very healthy for us. But now if the prices are becoming such that people are going to, scrimp on the amount of tomatoes they put in their diet, in their foods, that's a problem.
Yes, it's a major problem. When you go onto the markets, you get, see, the sizes are like this.
Tiny.
And then they're selling 1 for 5 cedis.
Goodness.
So if you want to prepare stew for a family of even 3, let's just take it.
How many tomatoes
do you need to do that?
Yeah.
Or even if you want to do just banku and pepper in the house with tomatoes, how many tomatoes can you buy to be enough for a whole family?
Yeah. I have an interesting story. In 2008, I was driving to Tamale. Actually, I was driving from Tamale. I had gone a year earlier driving up, to Tamale. So driving back down, we decided to use the, we went off the main road, right? So we decided to use the, when you get to Kintampo, Techiman, you can branch off to Nkoranza and then use the Jema route, through to come and appear at Ejiso. So Bonyure, the Ejura area, come through to Bonyure and then come to Ejiso, then you head back to Accra, right? So we just use that. So it's a farming area, heavily farming area. We came across people carrying basins of tomatoes. Now, I remember this very vividly because I was like, wait, hold on a second. They are carrying, where are they going? Where are they coming from and where are they going? Then it hit me. This heavily forested area, they can only be coming from the farm. Right, that's what occurred to me. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's ask them if they are going to, if they were selling the tomatoes. So I stopped the car and I reversed. And then I stopped and I said, oh, Mommy, good morning. Tomatoes, more toana. Also, they could also. We're going to the market. They're carrying on their head. Huge basin of the big one, the big silver basin. They're taking it to the market to go and sell. So I said, oh, how much is it? I said, oh, my 20, you can take the whole basin. The 20 Ghana cedis that you said, if you give me 20, you can take the whole basin. Listen, the buckets that they sell today, it would have been about 10 buckets, of tomatoes. She said, I can take all of it for 20.
20 cedis.
Those were the good old days.
Kweku, tomato is a perishable, vegetable. So when you harvest it, or if you're a farmer.
By the way, is it a fruit or a vegetable? Me, I don't know.
It's
I'm just
vegetable.
asking. It's a vegetable.
Yes.
Okay. But it grows on a tree.
It's a vegetable. It's a creeping vegetable.
I don't know what you guys think.
It's a vegetable.
Text us what you feel.
It's not a tree. It's a creeping plant. And
No, but it's a plant. So
yes.
if something that grows on a plant has to be a fruit. Or
it's a vegetable.
Okay, you
it's
take
a vegetable.
Okay, so
my science.
Don't worry, we'll share. We'll share.
Maybe we'll give it to Vox Pop Central.
You should go and ask the people on Vox Pop.
We'll give it to Vox Pop Central to go and ask and bring us answers on that. So as I was saying, tomato is a perishable vegetable. So when you harvest it, it has a very short lifespan.
It does.
And the moment you don't have any good preservative ways to preserve it to keep, and you keep it outside, maybe in your kitchen or even in your house for 5, 10, 15, at most 20 days, it starts to get soft.
Oh, yeah.
It
like
starts
20 days
to
cry,
mold.
I've been fortunate
yes,
it's lasted that long.
Mold starts building up, and then eventually it rots away.
Yeah.
And what do? You just trash it. So the people in these huge farming communities that farm the tomatoes, I mean, they don't get so much from it because they, as you were saying, they carry it on their head, walk long distances, take it to the market to go and sell so cheaply, just to get something small. But now, the seller who is here in Accra travels all the way there to go and buy the tomatoes. How to bring the tomato down to Ghana, to Accra, is another ball game altogether, because now she's going to pay for a porter who will carry the tomato from the farm to wherever the transport system will be. The transportation from there to here, or whoever is going to load it even from the ground into the car, is another money.
You pay for that one.
Now
too.
you finish loading it, you need to buy fuel to fuel the car. You pay the driver, bring it down here. And then when it gets here, you bring it, like it goes through a whole process. You bring it out of every process is money. The people to even carry the tomatoes from the car to put on the floor, they take money.
What about the other way they do it, where, so this is one way of doing it. There's another way they do it where the market queens order. And again, you have your middleman, they truck it in huge trucks and bring it to Accra, right? Now, when it comes to the market queens, they now say, okay, these tomatoes look nice, fresh, blah, blah, blah. Tomatoes are not really in season, whatever. Okay, this is their price. And they just decide, this is what we're going to charge for it. And it's like, if you like, pass any market anywhere, it's the same price that you're going to get. And I think it's we need to do better by looking at our issues of, let's say, post-harvest losses, reducing them to a bare minimum, where we empower and build capacity in terms of farms and at the farm gate. What can people do, to make sure that if we can't sell at the market, there's a factory close by that we can process and keep in a state that will not rot, or at least increase the shelf life for a bit longer, so that instead of rotting in 20 days, we can do 20 weeks before it starts to rot, or maybe even a year before it starts to rot. Of course, when you buy canned tomatoes, canned tomatoes can sit there for a very long time. What are we doing to ourselves? And then again, here's the question. We're going to be looking at a report shortly, but here's the question. Why are we still importing tomatoes from neighboring countries?
Burkina Faso.
Yeah, why? Intelligent Ghanaians, all our smartness, we are still importing as basic as raw tomatoes from Burkina.
And we have vast farmland here in Ghana.
Intelligent Ghanaians with agric schools in different parts of the country.
Yes.
We have about, I don't know even how many there are now, but at least I know about 4 or 5 agric colleges across. Volta region has one, Central region has, I think the Central region, I'm not sure about Central region, but Ashanti region has like 3.
We are still importing tomatoes.
There's a place in Kumasi called Agric.
Oh,
really? Yeah, it's called Agric. It's from the school.
That's the name of the
It's from the school.
Area?
Yes.
Wow.
It doesn't make any sense. Legon runs an Agric program, the Tech runs an Agric program. How did we arrive at this place?
It's sad.
you know.
Very sad. You know, I've seen foreign brands of tomatoes being fresh tomatoes actually chopped and canned.
Yes.
With a little.
I've also seen that.
I haven't seen.
In fact,
any,
I've used some.
Well, I use it a lot too. I haven't seen any local brands as such. So you talked about ways where we can preserve tomatoes. We can do these and then preserve it on the market rather than just watching the tomatoes rot away.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And when tomato is out of season and you need to cook, then you start thinking, I want to make stew.
Yeah.
How much tomatoes can I buy to prepare gravy to eat my
family,
rice?
Goodness.
To eat my rice.
Yeah.
You now have to depend on canned tomatoes, onions, plenty onions.
Yeah, just to beef up there. Anyway, listen, we have a story, a report for you filed by Charles Owusu-Kubi. Let's take a look at this report. When we come back, we'll delve into some conversations.
Tomato is an essential vegetable in Ghanaian households and an important ingredient in many Ghanaian meals. Unfortunately, consumers are being priced out of the product. The recent food inflation figures from the Ghana Statistical Service show a slight decline in the cost of food, but tomato prices are skyrocketing. Various factors are influencing the tomato supply chain, adding to the cost of the product. In that supply chain are the wholesalers who travel to farm gates to cut the produce from the hinterlands in Akumadan in the Ashanti region and places like Agogo in the eastern region to the cities. A tomato wholesaler at Agbogboleshi Market explains to us the dynamics of the tomato market.
So call her can be a 4,000. Now we are near man and neman is the new. Tis only a 40 guma, but could be 100 cities, lol of fan. And son nowadays, Adakan and Susika and Baku 30 cities. Boys and I, Omo Bushman, Omo Pejesima, Omo Jabaku 20 cities. Now almost so agile. A loading fee, no more swagging. And see a better checking in your cajon, and Sana Yansu Yaba, Yabatoma, Nayansu Yanyaka, I was so. And Nadia, I cat susu.
Market near Anka 1,150, and Casen out of account for profit.
And you know, they are cut on 1,001 and a 50, no. 50 cities, and yeah, old calendars near 50 cities, and they did 1,002. And
now, fast way 50 cities.
Yet 3 years, and it's many 1,003. Naturally, say, Yankopon, I adore you.
When traders transport the produce to the various markets, the next group in the chain, the retailers, then take the tomatoes off them to be sold to the consumers. This retailer explains to us the market conditions on the retail side.
If we are foreign the markets of foreign boarding, so almost some bad, almost some of the Maya boarding. Why ain't you see I'm inside them here? She ain't to see. Anyway, Nina Fiadakabakum. Nina Fiadakabakum. She said a Queen National. Or the Kitwa way in a name of boy. Santanta is here in our dear
Guasia.
Your Guasia, not the way a gusoro. And to whom I said, Papa, no, they are just here.
Enter a branch, my bad drum name is Semipe. In 5 cities, cry the alcohol. Minabi
5 cities, 10 cities in the crown, and that's a book market means now. Yenya 10 cities, no crack a career be way 10 cities.
So, I mean, this is the as a back magazine.
There 10 in numbers, and Ketsua.
Yeah, like around 10, costing 10 cities, and they're really tiny. Like, I don't know if it's just.
For the consumers, the price levels of tomatoes are unbearable.
In fact, tomatoes widening. The widening sometimes we got 5 cities crack, yeah, 2. Meanwhile, the ideas are so.
The General Agricultural Workers Union has been at the forefront of the agricultural conversations. Deputy General Secretary Andrews Adukwetego shares with us the factors contributing to the rising cost of tomatoes from the farmer's perspective.
When the input cost is high, it will definitely spread on the product, and that is tomato. In the recent times, many factors have been contributing to how we produce and grow our tomato in Ghana. You know, tomato needs a lot of water, that is irrigation, to be able to grow very well as a creeping commodity. It also needs a lot of attention in terms of control of weed, control of pests, and the rest. And beyond that, around this time, when we have chosen to use our land that has gold under to do galamsey, then definitely the land space will be limited. So if we're doing 40 acres and now galamsey is taking 20, it's a factor. It will reduce the land issue.
If you buy the Accra staple kinky, you may be forced to buy the pepper sauce that comes with it because Gakinke sellers say they cannot shoulder the cost of tomatoes alone.
Ntoso no yentumi nto nti yama doknofo no ebi mo use garden egg for the pepper, ebi mo so use tin tomatoes for the pepper, ebi mo so the maggi egum and also my different variety of yare.
I don't know there. Who use tomatoes? Who use garden eggs? You are just using tomatoes.
Me use onion in majority. It's me tall red pepper ne kakra ne my like metal onion like 10 cedi and 20 cedi. So no so two. Sebema na do so sin garden eggs ni sa nyama no mo use.
Oh, it is here where dry tomatoes ni use.
Me dry tomatoes use. It me tomatoes. It me use onion.
The General Agricultural Workers Union wants a national dialogue on food production to address the rising cost.
If the tomato perishes, the next farming season, the farmer may not go into producing tomato again. So we have a myriad of problems that needs us to sit down as people. Take all our political things away. We are talking about food, and food is a fundamental human right of every Ghanaian citizen.
Filed by Charles Owusu-Kumi. And the issues, as difficult as they may appear to be, I don't think that they are difficult to solve if we really want to solve them. Guess what? Every Ghanaian alive eats tomatoes on the regular, which means there's already a demand. We have, if you hear what Mr. Tego was saying, tomato needs a lot of water.
Yeah,
So we have a lot of wetlands.
we do.
The water is sitting there.
Yeah.
There are ways in which we can grow tomatoes. You know, there's a technique of growing crops called hydroponics. Thank you again to my biochemistry teacher. Hydroponics is growing food in water without soil. Without soil.
Right.
People are doing this in this modern world where they are not using soil. We have soil
Yeah.
and water. They are not using soil. They are growing tomatoes without using soil. But our intelligent Ghanaians, so much school. We will sit, we will write papers, documents,
practicality.
this one, feasibility study, post-feasibility study, all kinds of things, but getting the actual work done so that the results are on the ground, as for that one, there'll be problem because somebody must chop some money, somebody must swindle somebody, somebody must get advantage over somebody. Why is it that we are struggling to set up something as basic as, and it's not as if we've not had it before, because we've had tomato processing factories in this country.
Yes, yes.
At a point.
Yes.
Yes, but Abroni Bay Yenti, these factories will collapse. Yeah, under the watchful eye of intelligent Ghanaian leaders. Yes, the factories will collapse. And then we have the hawks and others like them who are interested in importing only, so that they alone will benefit.
Get some money into their pocket.
Yes. So let's import.
No.
This government said, Nanado said that we're going to move from taxation to production. It was such a big buzz phrase. I was super excited. Seriously. Because I was like, finally, somebody is thinking in the right direction. But guess what? After 7 years plus, how much production have we really gone into? It appears that the taxes are, well, not that it just appears, for a fact, the taxes are higher than they were 7 years ago, right? And the production, let's even see that there are two tomato canning factories
in Ghana.
in two of the largest tomato growing areas
in Ghana, yeah.
right? If we saw this, Jifa, at least it's some respite to say that, you know what, even if we have a glut, there's so much tomatoes growing, farmers don't have to worry. They'll get paid fair price, and then we'll have the tomatoes preserved, which means when the tomato season goes down, we still have tomatoes.
To depend on. You know,
How difficult is this?
Watching the report where you could see that the tomatoes are on the farmlands, rotting away. Now, the buyer will go into the farms and then pick the ones that are good to sell. Bring it down south here. And the Kenke seller's report where she said, now they don't even use tomatoes in the pepper they serve for the kinky. So you go and buy your ordinary kinky, you expect to have the pepper to eat it with, thinking that, oh, it's pepper, onions, tomatoes, and sometimes ginger. Instead, you are eating pepper with blended garden eggs. Are you serious?
No, but once there's pepper inside, you'll be okay, oh?
No, but I mean, this is such a revelation.
Yeah.
This is such
No, it is.
Yes.
No, it is.
Had she not said it, we all would be thinking that, oh, tomatoes are out of season or they are going out of season, there's a price hike, but they are still finding their way to give us. So it's either you're eating blended garden eggs or you're eating rotting tomatoes.
Yeah. Now that is another conversation, the issue of rotten tomatoes, right? Because some people are so cutthroat that they would rather blend and grind the rotten tomatoes for you and serve you with it.
And when they go to the market,
then throw
they
it
say,
away.
Because
it's cheaper to buy. Then they will use that
they wash
to
it
serve
anyhow.
Hey, Charlie, people, those of you who love your kinky,
you need to
especially love the kinky with the pepper. You know, me, I've diversified my kinky taste. So now when I do kinky, I use shito. Right.
Yeah.
I will use very little red pepper.
Yeah.
So I use shito. In fact, these days, if I can get away with it, I'll do green pepper instead of red pepper. You see, because green pepper, no.
Even the green pepper, now pepper.
Tell me about that one.
Pepper. Today we are focusing on tomatoes, but have you been to the market lately to buy pepper? If you buy green pepper, 5 cedis, it's not even up to a handful. 2 cedis crowd there, they don't sell anymore. They tell you that 2 cedis anymore, so you have to buy 5 cedis and above. And the 5 cedis is just a handful.
Wow.
I don't know what is happening, but then the hike in prices of foodstuffs.
The rainy season has begun. So I'm hoping that as, you know, the months roll on, in about 3 to 4 months, we should have a harvest. And hopefully it will be a bumper harvest. And then, you know, some of these prices will drop, you know. But I think that, first of all, we need to do better in terms of, look, that gimmick that the Ministry of Agri did a few months ago, we should stop those kind of games. Do you understand? I think that we should revert back to, and I'm just saying this specifically for the Honorable Brian Champon to consider, right? That, you know what, I think it was a Champon who did it in his time, the food distribution company. They used to have yellow kiosks. Now, I don't know if you ever came to see them, but I was alive when the yellow kiosks were around. Now, there were these yellow kiosks. They were food booths, and they were distributed all over the city. And I think in other towns and cities as well. Okay, but I saw them in Accra, where when you go to those places, food was cheap. You would buy your food at a cheaper price because they had built a system where the farmers knew that they will get fair price for their products if they go through that system. Okay, so you would move, they would buy from farm gate. They will be given, the farmers will get their fair price. It will be transported and it will be distributed, and all these yellow kiosks will get enough food to sell, right? So all you had to do was to go and register with them, get yourself a yellow kiosk, and then you have everyday food will come to you that you will sell to the public.
That's beautiful.
Right? So, because what they did at the ministry, to me, didn't make any sense. You're expecting people to come from Abokobi to come to the ministry to come and buy food. Are you serious?
How?
But that's what somebody did, okay, and thought it was a smart idea. However, I think that what Echembon did, and those days, Operation Feed Yourself, that's something that I want to talk about, just briefly. Operation Feed Yourself. We learned how to do backyard farming, where you could grow tomatoes at home. Think about it.
I was going to say
you have your own tomatoes at home. If you can actually grow it all year round if you want to, because it just needs water. So if you have water all year round, tomatoes will grow. That's all it takes, right? So backyard farming, all of these things. I mean, for us here at Citi, you know, we're very big on focusing on Ghana and focusing on self-sustainability, right? And so for me, it's one of the easy things that we can do for ourselves.
So, Kweku, my mom lives at Kumbaolishi before Dodua, and we moved there about 6 years ago. And when we moved there, it was a new site developing. Now, there were lots of empty plots to our left, right, I mean, all over. What my mom did was, she's so hard on agriculture.
Okay.
We planted plantains, cassava. We had about 2 or 3 plots full of cassava, tomatoes, just name it, beans, potato, everything. So at a point in time, when you need something, you just need to step out of the house, go to the farm, and then you have food.
Yeah.
The cassava was so much so that we couldn't even eat it anymore, because how many times do we even eat fufu?
Yeah.
And people come to uproot just to eat. Those who wanted to buy were buying. Until the people who owned the land started coming there to build their... And still, we have a little backyard farming. There's always food in my house. Always. So I think we need to learn these things. And even if you don't have a land, there are different ways to farm. Get a small clay pot. Get a sack. Put
in fact, we'll talk a little bit more
inside.
about that.
Right.
Yeah, later on, you know, I mean, to show people at least how you can go about it very simply and very easily at home, you know, and it's a, thank you for bringing that one up, because I think that we should show people that it's actually possible, doable, right? So we're going to take a quick break. When we're back, we're still talking the community development segment. We're still talking tomatoes. We're going to go to the Bono region and see what's happening there as well. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
This is still Breakfast Daily, and we are still on the community development segment, focusing on the price hike in food, especially tomatoes. Kweku, before I went on the break, I was telling you about how we farm in the house and all of that. Now, when we were building in Dodua, we had, as I said,
a lot of land around.
Everything, Sam, you get it in my house. Beans. See, we made cassava dough from the cassava we planted. Everything. At a point, we were harvesting pepper and dashing it out to people. We weren't even selling it, dashing it out, because
there was so much
abundance.
Of it.
There was food in abundance, and there wasn't ever a time that we'll have to go to the market to go and shop for stuff, unless maybe we want salt, which we couldn't produce, or maybe something that we produced and produced, charcoal.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Charcoal.
Like you had trees that you could cut and just burn the trees.
Because when people are coming to build it was
they
a
want to clear
virgin
the
land.
trees.
So they want to clear the trees. So
You
when
have
they
charcoal.
clear, my mom will organize people to make charcoal for us. We had everything.
Wow.
So at a point, people were laughing at me that, hey, what's Accra? You live in a village, but this is in Accra. And it was good, because when I was in uni, there was never a time I go home and not come back with foodstuffs. When I'm going home, my friends are like, hey, Jifa, the Oko.
When you are coming?
When I come and bring food, and I'll bring plantain, tomatoes, pepper, everything. Unless you don't want it, I'll bring everything. So it's high time we need to take up these things. See, don't build your house and then tile the whole place, cement the whole place, not leaving room for any sand, just a small portion. Tomatoes, kakra, something small, so that when these things are happening, prices of food are going over the roof, you know that there's something for you to fall back on. There's something for you and your family to actually rely on.
Yeah, I even know, I have a friend who grows herbs and spices in flower pots. So literally, on the veranda, she has about 10 pots, and there's thyme growing here, there's rosemary growing here, there's mint growing here, there's basil growing here, there's different things growing, you know. So for me, I think the whole idea of understanding that the power to control what we eat is in our hands, and to control the pricing of what we eat is in our hands. Because you see, if we look, I studied in tech, and sometimes I'm excited to say it, but sometimes I'm ashamed to say it. But I studied in tech. One of my project work in final year was to learn how to grow mushrooms.
Wow.
And I grew mushrooms. Wow. And I grew mushrooms, and I say I'm ashamed to say it because I've not done anything with it since then. But yesterday I got in touch with somebody who can give me mushroom spores. Now, mushrooms don't come with seeds. They come with what they call spores. And that's how you grow mushrooms, right? So at least I have the number. I got it yesterday. I'm going to be getting in touch with the person. And you know, last week, Annuan, the Ghanaian farmer, she came on the set yesterday. Yes, so I contacted her and she gave me the number. I'm going to reach out because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of talk and very little action. You know, let's not be like government that behaves like that. You know. And others who like to behave like that. We say we'll do, and then if we don't see after 2 years, 3 years, nothing has happened, right? But I also realize that if you grow your own thing, you can control health. Yeah. If you grow your own thing, you can control quality. If you grow your own thing, you can control pricing and how much you spend. You know, all these things is in your control. Guess where I first learned how to grow beans and groundnuts? I learned it from school, from primary school, from class 1 at Richard School. That's where I learned it from, right? And so when I came home, of course, you know how kids are, right? So I was super excited. Now I tell my parents, I said, we're planting this. So my parents too, it was that time of life in the 80s where everybody was experimenting, everybody was trying it out, you know? My parents, they were doing poultry farming at home. We had like 1,500 birds at home. I've seen, at the age of 8 or 9 years old, I already saw what day-old chicks look like. And the fact that you have to keep them in a room that is warm and all of that. They had this big 1,000-watt lights, you know, that would warm the room. We saw all of those things, right? But I was very fascinated by the fact that our teachers had taught us how to plant beans and groundnuts, right? And you know that they creep, right? So then you have to put sticks in the ground, and then so when it starts to creep, you wind it around it so that it can wind around and grow, right? And the groundnuts are they're underground, you know, and then the beans will come above ground. All of those things, class 1. What's happened to that? What's happened to that culture that we had? You know, so when we say the good old days, it's not just a hype. Those were good old days. Actually, yeah. It's not just a hype, because today our only thinking is who has more money than the next person, who can show off more than the next person. And meanwhile, the power to control your expenditure is in your hands. What are you doing with it, right? Maybe we should look at the next report.
Of course.
Okay, so Michael Mfum from our Bruno region has brought us also a report from there detailing some of the challenges with tomato price hikes.
Although Ghana has fertile land suitable for farming, the country has not fully seized the opportunity to develop the tomato sector, achieve self-sufficiency, and reduce its heavy reliance on importing the commodity. According to the Ghana Vegetable Producers and Exporters, Ghana imports a staggering $400 million worth of tomatoes from neighboring Burkina Faso annually. Meanwhile, tomato prices have skyrocketed in markets across the Bruno region, despite the region being a significant producer of tomatoes. Mercy Osaya Mankwa, a seasoned tomato vendor at the Sunyani market, shares her insights on the factors driving the price surge.
nsuo na ntɔ nti ama deɛ wɔn de aduane no anyɛ yie nti na ama ntoosi ne bo ayɛ den saa.
Na tomatoes wo fa fi fa ne.
Ipatwo wei na ankasa ne deɛ wɔn ebi ɛkɔ fɛ fi bɛborɔ eastern region wei na nso ankasa ɛyɛ atoa ne deɛ dɔmanfoɔ na ɛyɛ na yɛ maame mu na yɛ ana wɔn kɔfa na yɛ nso yɛ dɛ yɛtu yɛ deɛ yɛn kɔfa nso.
Na wo se na sie no.
Sisi ase ɛwɛ adaka ne boɔ ne deɛ adaka no atoa ne yɛ 17 million wɔn de ama yɛ fɔ kora yɛ 17.5 ɛna local one nso yɛ 14 million nti wei no yɛayɛ ne 9.10 na yɛde ketewa baako ato atoa ne deɛ yɛyɛ ne 9.10 and 9.20.
Fetenta in the Brokun West district of the Brun region is renowned for its tomato production, employing over 2,000 farmers and numerous youth who assist with harvesting and transportation. Christopher Kusi, a tomato farmer in Fetenta, attributes the high prices to various factors.
I feel no study one Casabe in the Edican, one Casabe, one a fool with me. Study a fool as I and yet a 4 year beer and Catua. No more mere beer actually. This is a mefan say, Abada, this is a untuminion. Nina say, Tam I was saying, Sutuguno. Yasha Sorosa, the beer, Sorosa, and Sunto. And we are a yana marching ne guya, and Casamria, a woman Kairos will be a bay 2 weeks. Kawase has a bet in Tuesday. And so, Nsunto. I'm on Tuesday, Nina, Badada. And to hear how party Nsua, Antono, Namas in Tuesday, into Minion. Oh, here, tomatoes now. Box no. Box now, yet on it's in ton 300. Bra, no one up from it in ton 300, 500. And so says the Amen worker say, box no, and I'm 6,000. 6,000 cranyadi or munya no moto. Omune nam krase omo boabo no akra na omo tumi anya box back enti whether na dey ahaya
Shedrabuahin, secretary of the Fetenta Vegetable Farmers Association, proposes solutions to address the persistent price hikes, which have become a recurring challenge for tomato consumers in the region.
We are appealing to the government to support us or come to our aid to provide us dam or wells so that we can do the work throughout the year, because during the dry season we stay at home, we don't do anything. So if we possibly get the dams and then the walls, it can help us to do our work throughout the year to provide enough quality tomatoes for the nation as a whole. As I'm speaking right now, the tomatoes price is raising up, it's going high. So we are pleading, if you get the support that we are asking for or we are pleading for, we can do the work throughout the year. And the tomato balls that we used to buy it maybe 300 cedis or 500 cedis per box, right now it is 6,000 per box. So imagine if the person comes from Accra or come to Center to buy tomatoes for 6,000, how much is he going to sell it? Or how are we going to sell the tomatoes to nationwide? So we need government to support us with those things that we are asking for or we are pleading for, so that we can do the work to support Ghana.
All right. So that was a farmer there from the Brno region, and you heard the different conversations that they're all having there. The challenges with dry season, stunted growth of tomatoes because of the dry season. The tomatoes love water, a lot of water. That report again was brought to us by Michael Sapon Infum from the Brno region. He's a Brno regional correspondent. Well, I think that for me, certain things I drew from the report, we'll discuss that. But we have Shadrach Boahin. He's a secretary for the Fetenta Vegetable Farmers Association. Shadrach, good morning, sir. Yes, welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you.
All right, so please tell us a little bit about the area where you farm yourself And what's the situation like there now that the rainy season has started? What are you looking forward to? Shadrach, can you hear us?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm saying that tell us a little bit about where you farm yourself, where your farm is, and then what you're looking forward to as the rainy season has begun. Has it begun there as well?
My name is Juan Shadrach. I'm speaking from Setentat, Blekum. We are tomato farmers at Setentat. And the work that we are doing, it depends on the normal rainfall for our tomatoes farming. And quite recently, the rain is not raining.
It's not raining.
Because,
Okay.
Yeah, yes, please. And because of inadequate of rain, that has caused the high pricing of the tomatoes.
When was the last time it rained?
It's, more than a week ago.
I
It was
see.
last week, Thursday.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Continue.
So because of inadequate of the rainfall, it has caused damage to our tomatoes farming. And the tomatoes are still standing. It's not growing.
Okay.
So because of that, you don't get the normal yield that we are looking for. That are leading to the high pricing of the tomatoes.
Okay. So let me ask you, so one of the things that I know that some people do is irrigation farming. Now, irrigation farming, you can do the posh, expensive irrigation farming, or you can do the cheaper type. So, for example, if you dug some small ponds through your farm, so let's say, I don't know how big your farm is. If you have maybe about 20 small ponds in your farm, one rainfall will give you some water in the ponds, so that even when it's not raining, you can fetch water and still water your tomatoes. What do you think about that?
That is true, but we don't have the access to those things. We only rely on the rainfall. But if you have those small dams and then whatever, or boreholes, you can use it to do the farming. But here you don't have those assets. That's why we are looking for small dams and then these boreholes to do the farming work.
Now, Shadrach, the fact that you don't have access to these ponds, it's a bit alarming, because these are your farms. This is your business. This is what you do. This is what you depend on. Isn't there a way you can organize yourself, maybe the workers on your farm, that's if you have any, or even your family and friends who help you on your farm on a daily basis, to dig a small pond or think about ways you can harvest rainwater to store to do your farming?
You see, our area is not like where you can get access to this raining system. But sometimes you can use the bulldozers and then drop the rain or the flooding water. But you don't have, you can't afford to use this excavator to do those things.
It's too expensive to hire an excavator?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what about digging by hand? Is that not possible? If maybe 20 gentlemen together, you come together and you decide to start digging small, would that not work?
You can dig those wells, but you can't use it to supply your farm.
Okay.
You need a lot of water to supply the farm.
Okay.
So you can use those fetching water to water the tomatoes. Sometimes if you have some dam or dam, let me say dam, you can use pumping machine to water the farm. Let's say if you have 2 acres of land or 2 acres of tomatoes.
Yes.
You can fetch water and then water the tomatoes. It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very costly.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Shadrach, this year's or this season's tomato yield as compared to last season, what's the change?
Last year was better. But this year, you can't even say anything about it because it's not raining.
And the primary factor is the rain?
Is that?
The primary factor, is it just the rain or the other factors that...
Yes, please. The rain and then the high increment of the agrochemicals.
I see. Okay. And talking about agrochemicals, what kind of chemicals do you use on your crops or your tomatoes? Because there's a realization that these days the tomatoes don't really last for long. If you are not going to preserve them, put them in the freezer or do any preservation methods, and you keep it in the house, it doesn't stay so long and then it rots away. What's the problem?
The problem is that you need this thing. Cobra 34, the one they stick it, the foreign thing, the petomesh, the one we call petomesh. That one they can last for more than 2 weeks or 1 month. But to get the seeds is problem. They import this in the Cobra 34. As at last year, he tried to get Cobra 34. You couldn't even get it. So we have to use the local one. And then the C2 is very costly. Per ton is 50 grams is 1,500. So if you want to cultivate maybe 3 acres, you need maybe 8 tons of that petomesh. So you can imagine the money that you invest into those seeds. So you have to use the local ones and then do away with it.
All right. Okay, so Shadrach, thank you very much for talking to us. We pray for better rainfall, and we hope that you're able to get at least some kind of support to get your farms irrigated as well, so that you're able to do farming even when the rains are not coming down as much. All right. Thank you very much for talking to us. Now, I was involved in a project a few years ago, photographing with drones dams that were being built in the northern part of Ghana, Upper West and Upper East. So I've seen this firsthand. It was a project under the Ghana Social Opportunities Project. That's what it was called. It was under Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Now, these projects, they call them LIPW projects. They are livelihood, it's labor-intensive public works, right? Now, labor-intensive public works simply means that the public work that they are doing, right, it uses a lot of manpower. As opposed to machinery. You get it?
Yeah.
So you are building a dam. The dam, or it's like a massive pond. It will serve a community of 20, 30,000 people. Right? Or maybe several communities, surrounding communities. Now what happens is that the entire community will come together, okay? And this is also a World Bank project that was done. So what they'll do is they'll come together and they will literally dig by hand, right? Every day they'll go and they'll dig. When they close, they go home. Tomorrow we will come and we'll continue digging. And they will dig and dig and dig and dig and dig till it's a wide expanse, sometimes 100 meters in diameter. That's what they are digging. Listen, when we finish, I'll even show you photos of it because I have photos of it, of some of these dams. Okay, they will dig by hand. That's why I'm saying that as much as it's a water-intensive, crop to grow, the solution is still not as complicated as we make it seem to be.
Exactly.
Right? If only we will put our hands to the plow, as it were, and do what we have to do. Because yes, 2 people cannot build a dam. It is complicated. A lot more people can do it. It's labor intensive, but listen, it's not as if we are just talking, pulling things out of the air and suggesting things that are not doable. I have seen them. I wish I even have some of the photos to show you.
And Kweku,
maybe I will do that.
The weather condition, there's nothing we can do about it.
You can't do anything
You can't
about the
control
weather.
it. So instead, you need to find measures, because imagine if for 3 or 5 years in a row,
yes,
we have this kind of weather condition.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
We're headed for doom.
Yep. But you know what? Guess what? Every year, there is some amount of rainfall. So you have to just find ways of capturing it.
And this is known, this area, the Bono region is known as Ghana's food basket.
Of course.
So if we are facing
and they have some of the highest rainfall in the country.
If we are facing this problem from Ghana's food baskets, what's going to happen to the other areas?
Yeah. If you think about it like this, if Accra, have you seen how much rain we've been receiving in Accra in the last month? Okay.
It's been great.
And we're not, I don't even think we're in the peak of the rainy season yet.
All.
But look how much rain we've received.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the amount of rain that would be in other parts of the country, Western region, Bono region, and so on and so forth? I think that we need to come together and understand that it's not as complex if we choose to go down a certain path. Let's accept that the funds are not there.
Yeah.
Let's accept that it takes leadership. But somebody must lead the charge and say, we're going to build these affordable, labor-intensive dams that the communities will own themselves.
Yeah.
Because they were all involved in building it. You see, because this whole attitude that we have in Ghana of throwing money at things.
Or waiting for the government to come to our aid. For how long?
We can wait for government, but seriously, like
until
Jifa
then,
said, for how long? There's a message that we have here, and I just want to read that quickly. I think it came from our social media stream. It says, this is not a season of tomatoes, it's a season of mango. And so, of course, explaining why the prices are the way they are, because it's not a tomato season. You see, I think, again, I beg you, with all due respect, we need to move away from this challenge of this season, that season. It's not the season, it's the season. It's water. It's water and availability of water. And other factors, of course, but it's availability of water. People are growing tomatoes in their room. In their room. In their room. It should be possible. Okay? And like I said, when I travel with a team from the Ghana Social Opportunities Project, I was blown away. How that communities will gather together. And when they dig, you know what they do? They dig the dam, and when they are done digging, that's not the end of it all. Because it's soil, you don't want the water to fall and then disappear into the earth, right? So what they do is that they now take stones and laterite, and then you see, I have pictures. I'll show you. They literally spend. So it may take 6 months to build one dam.
But
do you understand?
It's
but
it's
built,
yes,
and when
it's
built, it's built forever. You see, then they will hammer. You see them pounding the stones, pounding the
so
stones.
Much manpower.
Yes, it's manpower. At the end of the day, you solved a problem for life. All right. So that's been the community development segment. It's all been about tomatoes. And I hear you guys had a fascinating experience recently with some food vendor. You went to buy food and they screamed you
Helen
on pepper.
We bought kenke from, one of the kenke joints here in Tesano. And then when they delivered the food, a bowl of kenke, reasonable amount of fish. Because if you see the pepper, it was about a teaspoonful. See, Helen got angry. She was like, why are you giving me this amount of pepper? At a point, I said, if you want us to buy the pepper, just say it so that we know that I'm buying kenke fish and I'm buying pepper too. Because why would I think the pepper is for free? You bring the pepper and I can't even use it.
They only use pepper, no tomatoes inside.
How?
Anyway, we'll take a quick break. Breakfast Daily hasn't ended. There's more to come.